Hey everyone, Kory here, and welcome to another episode of Tangents. Tangents is supplemental content for your favorite podcast from the middle, a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview style podcast hosted by me and two other middle class guys living in the middle chapters of our lives in the middle of America with a point of view. Guess what? Somewhere in the middle. Episodes of Tangents allow us to deep dive a topic that may be a little too in depth for our regular episodes. And I am super excited to have my college roommate, Greg Kissner, on this episode to talk about all things Boba Fett. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Kory.
It's been so long since we've caught up. So we're going to use this episode of Tangents to hang out again and talk about something that I know we both love. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that, Greg, you are the reason I'm so into Star Wars in general today, and Boba Fett specifically. I had never met someone with as much passion for a franchise and a singular character as you. And it's weird because, we were born between the trilogies. So if there wasn't an original trilogy fan sort of exposing us as kids to Star Wars, and it's the story for me, I didn't really have a lot of people in my life that were all about it. And then I come to college, we're in a quad, but you and me were roomed together, and you start like decorating the room with all of your Star Wars and Boba Fett stuff. And you seriously, man, like you introduced me to the fandom. You introduced me to the fact that all of this, and George Lucas based all of this off of Joseph Campbell and a hero's, legend and all of that stuff. And like the story and the character arcs, and like you got me all into it. So thank you. And what have you started?
Honestly, that's an enormous honor. I didn't know that. Like, if anything, I know that we both got. I got you like really into Boba Fett, but like Star Wars as a whole. That's a huge honor. Like, I would like to hear from anybody. Obviously, someone I care about. It's way more important. But like, oh my God, yeah. That makes me so happy to know that I got someone in the Star Wars. I think definitely at the time, right around us going to college, Star Wars got bigger again because of the prequels coming out and everything. So I think as you know, and I'm sure we'll discuss, I'm a fan of like all fandoms, and I'm a too big of a nerd for my own good. But I am married though, so that's there's small little miracles like that. At the time, Star Wars was definitely my main primary focus. And college was definitely like a very nurturing environment for that too, because we went to an art school, so like everybody is a gigantic nerd. And
but it was like safe to. This was, I think, before obviously a lot of the superhero films were becoming blockbusters. So it was almost like,
that's true,
you could let your geek flag fly a little bit, and chances are somebody else, because we were at an art school with a lot of other weird art geek types. It was like chances are there was going to be somebody that was as into it as you were. And just seeing your love of it, and like how seriously you took every bit of new content that came out, because episode 1 was 99, and then episode 2 was 2002. And this is right before, we were at art school. But if anybody's watching on YouTube, you can tell that Greg is a big geek as well. Greg was in some illustration classes, but he was more a filmmaker. So he's an awesome filmmaker, really knows his way around a camera and storytelling, and has a deep passion for film in general. Love what you do. And we're going to get into some of your other hobbies and interests at the end, maybe. But tell me a little bit about, for you, because this is really, we want this to be about Boba Fett with the book of Boba Fett coming out. But like, just briefly fly over like your introduction to Star Wars in general, and then how what attracted you to the character of Boba Fett so much?
So Star Wars as a whole was definitely I'm sure it was just like playing on TV before we had like VHSs, but I know that my dad, my earliest memories of watching it are with my dad. Mm-hmm. And he's not particularly like a giant fan or anything like that, but like he recognized that that was like a, you know, an important movie, and especially like for an important movie for me to watch. And at like an early age, I like showed a large interest in wanting to do what I do now with video and things. And I was, you know, artistic and whatever. And thank God my dad was too, because he was like, okay, here's all of this. And he was also like kind of like on this long weird thing of like introducing me to movies that I was probably too young for, like Holy Grail, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, not Indiana Jones, but because that's fine. But like Monty Python and like I kid you not, like Vertigo and Apocalypse Now.
Nice.
So it was like, what are you doing? You know, in hindsight now. But Star Wars, I remember it came on TV, and of course I was instantly glued to it as a kid. And then I remember getting the VHSs, like the just pre special edition VHSs for Christmas. I think that following year, the one that has like the Yoda head and the Stormtrooper head and the Vader head.
Yep.
And which I'm pretty sure that's like the classic one a lot of at least people our age grew up with. But then I just became obsessed, and Boba Fett, I think, is like the perfect character for a kid, like almost any kid, if you're watching it at the right age, to just like instantly become glued to, because it's just like he looks cool, he doesn't say much, which of course obviously there's a lot of jokes about that, you know, now again in hindsight, when you're like thinking about the movie, you're like, oh my god, this guy who barely talked and barely had any screen time is like this phenomenon. But that's the point. It's like, because it's like they left you wanting more. And he's like this mysterious dude with the helmet and the wrist shooters and the flamethrowers and the pack and the everything. I mean, he has all of the bells and whistles, and he looks like this just badass space man, space adventurer dude. Like if you take him completely out of Star Wars, you just look at him and you're like, that's a science fiction, like kick-ass hero dude. Like that's like, I just want to know everything about him. And so that was everything. And then my very first, which actually it's right here on my shelf, this is my very first Star Wars figure ever. It's good that I moved my camera, but this is my very first Star Wars figure ever. It's the Power of the Force Boba Fett.
Nice.
Dust on him, which is horrible and gross. But
dude, you can't blow Boba Fett on camera. This is a family. So,
sorry. But I totally just remember getting this figure and like just being like, because he's so cool.
Yeah.
Everything about him, and like the blaster at this point is kind of wiggly and crappy. But then I'll just set him here for now. But yeah, when we met, I had already my senior year of high school for some reason, and honestly, I have no idea why this ever occurred to me. And I had a lot of interest in making costumes and doing things like that. And now cosplay is like a huge deal, but I made in my garage some, you know, Boba Fett armor, and at the time I thought it was awesome. And I've dug it out, and oh my god. I didn't know you had, oh my god.
So if you're just listening,
I feel like a celebrity that's like on like plugging a thing, and you're able to bring that up.
If you're just listening, I just surprised Greg with 3 photos.
Oh my god.
Of him. Was this your senior year?
It is. Those are some senior photos. Oh my god. And so, no kidding, the chest pieces, the knee guards, and the gauntlets there are actually aluminum siding. That's how, like, I mean, it was like, you know, what else did I have to work with? And my stepdad is retired now, but he was a carpentry teacher, so we always had like access to all this awesome stuff in our garage. And and it's like there's like gauntlets that have like wood on them too, to like give them the right shape, and like the rocket is like a part of a flashlight, I think. And oh my god, that's hilarious,
dude. Like a couple things worth mentioning. First, while I'm talking, I want you to look at the file names of these images. Crouching Boba, Hidden Finger, Greg Fett, and Pew Pew for the last one. But
well, one of them does look like I'm missing a finger.
I know. So, like this again, you just said it. This is before cosplay was cool. The balls you had to have, the balls you had to have to make these your senior photos, and the love of Boba Fett you had to have to make these your senior photos. But then, man, as a high schooler, the quality and attention to detail. I mean, you're doing some pretty impressive cosplay work here, man. Like that. And I remember at some point freshman year, these photos came out because you still had part of the costume with you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember wearing it in the dorms. And I think I just brought it because I like my lack of shame. I mean, I'll call it. It's a double-edged sword, but it's like I've benefited greatly from it, and I've also, I wouldn't say suffered, but it's just like I've done a lot of dumb shit. I mean, it's both of those. And I mean, in high school, I guess I had enough friends that I just didn't care, and I was like, I really like this thing, and I think it's cool. And if anyone's out there listening or watching that feels nervous about doing anything like that, which now it's way more accepted. But just do what you want. Do what makes you happy.
That's what I tell my oldest, Greg. It's like, just let your flag fly, because people are going to respect you more for just being wholly and completely you than trying to cater to some like, well, they might think this is weird. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, and that was like my whole thought behind, and like even just like I want to say like maybe I included those photos in my portfolio for school, and that was more of like my mom like forcing me to. She's like, you put so much work into that, and they'll really respect that, and I think they did.
Yeah.
But I used it for a couple different projects, and took some reference photos and stuff for like drawing and painting and whatever freshman year. But I remember walking around in it, just in the dorms, just being a huge nerd, and some people just being like, wow, that's either insane or that's actually kind of cool. I do remember specifically our RA, I want to say it was Dirk.
Yeah.
And God love him, he's a good guy and a very talented artist as well. But he I think it was something like, it's like, you're Boba Fett if Boba Fett found his armor in a trash heap or something. Or something. And I'm like, whatever, I'll take it. I don't care.
Thanks, Dirk.
Yeah, but that was humble beginnings, because it's like, yeah, I more recently returned to wearing that armor, which is hilarious. And it was Cobb Vanth. I will say he was amazing, and I'm sure we'll get into him too.
Yeah.
But like I had to redo it, and I was like, I even like went back to the old armor that I had, because I still have it. I actually don't have that iteration. I have another one that was predated that one that I pitched. But I was like, man, can I reuse some of this stuff? And no, I could. It was like none of it.
This gear has gotten smaller over the years.
Right. Yeah. Much smaller. Yeah. And like the old Don Post helmet, which I might actually be that one. I don't know. But like the Don Post Star Wars helmets from back in the day were all like vinyl and just kind of like rubbery, and they never really fit. So I kind of had to do like a heat treatment to it. And then I cut the visor part out of it and actually put a real visor in it, and and now it's like I actually know the techniques and can do that kind of stuff. But Boba Fett, it's just,
I love that you were so into it. I love that you were so into it then. I love the early, you know, cosplay, which would come back later in your life, and we'll get into your Ghostbuster stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But I love the courage to make that your senior photo. It reminds me, do you remember the magician that would come to CCAD, Michael Kent?
Yes.
Yeah. So
God, yes.
Michael has these high school photos that he'll share and junior high and high school photos of him learning magic early. And it's like, even people that are on AGT now are famous, even like Shin Lim or somebody like that. Like, there was a time when he was getting made fun of for doing the thing that people are praising him for now. And the other thing
and they have the awkward like cummerbunds and stuff, like in those magic outfits.
The other thing that triggered was my love now of Adam Savage and watching his tested channel on YouTube and all the cosplay stuff that he builds. Like, I want his shop, but he's a hoarder. That's a definite problem. But he has like every piece of every supply, piece of material and tool to create that you could ever want. And some of what you were doing there reminds me of stories that he wrote about in his book. But so let's pivot back to Boba Fett. There's sort of this meme online that I've seen multiple times that's like, who is your favorite Star Wars character and why is it Boba Fett? And it's kind of like, it's kind of tongue in cheek, like it's kind of making fun of the fact that he's a lot of people's favorites. But what do you personally think it is? You kind of got into it. He's mysterious. He doesn't say much. You want to know more. He sort of has this Clint Eastwood, you know, posture and gait in the films. But like, what do you think it was? What's your point of view as you've talked to other Boba Fett fans? Why has he gotten so popular over the years?
Well, so as an adult, because like I grew up, and Boba Fett no doubt was my favorite Star Wars character, but like as I grew up, like I leaned a little bit more into Han Solo, which is funny because they're like bitter enemies. But like everybody, I mean, if it's not Boba Fett, it's Han Solo anyway. So with a lot of people. But also side tangent. I never really, and this is not including Boba Fett, because really, like, if we really have to get into it, like Boba Fett's not particularly a bad guy, right? But like, I never really understood, and maybe people can put it in comments or whatever on this video or this podcast.
Yes, please.
But like, why? I just don't understand. And I know the 501st is a very inclusive, whatever, you know, cosplay group, and that makes sense. But apart from like cosplay and being a stormtrooper, like people obsess about like their like favorite characters are the bad guys. Like people will say, oh yeah, like the Empire's the best, and they'll have like an Empire, you know, insignia on their car or da, 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 da. I've just never understood it. I mean, all power to them. They're Star Wars fans. I don't care. But like, I have a Rebel insignia on my car because they're the good guys and they're what the movie is about. And it's like, to me, I just never understood it. But that's my side tangent. But like with Boba Fett, that was part of, I think, like as a kid and even now, like what makes him cool is that he exists in that gray area where not only are just like the cultural, what's the word? The archetype, I guess, of like a bounty hunter character who's like kind of just like a gunslinger. Like that's such a beloved thing in culture and in film, especially. Like the gunslinger is like just is like the epitome of cool. And
or the mercenary, the Ronin,
like makes his own rules.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, that's how, you know, I think they knew like, okay, look, we got to make a Mandalorian TV show. But like, I think what the Mandalorian kind of capitalized that Boba Fett and kind of the characters that surround that underworld, which God willing, you know, we'll learn more about in the upcoming show. But like, they laid these like little, and I'm sure George Lucas totally didn't even mean to do this going into it. But like they laid all these, like they planted all these seeds that I feel like when the expanded universe came out, which is like that, like you had said, we grew up between trilogies. Like that was the like prime era of like the expanded universe and all of like the stuff that's now called Legends, where like they took all those characters that were like Boba Fett or these, they weren't good, they weren't bad, and just expanded the heck out of them. And a lot of like my love for him came through like comics or books, or I mean, Shadows of the Empire definitely has a lot to do with it too. Game, comic, and book. But I just feel like characters like him, especially Boba Fett, I think he was kind of, I would like to say he was sort of like the figurehead of like all of those characters who came up during that time, that just everybody wanted to know more about, because we didn't get him in the movie, but we knew that there had to be like this whole world around that guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see him in Empire, and he's a big standout. Obviously, when they show the line of bounty hunters, we see him then later on, and he has a couple lines in Cloud City and whatever. But then, he blew up the way he could, I guess, in 1980 between then and Return of the Jedi. But then, when Return of the Jedi rolled around, there, like, he had gotten a following based on just that little amount of time that they could give him, whether it be, well, this is post holiday special, because that was before Empire Strikes Back, but like, action figures, there were comic books, things like that. That then in Return of the Jedi, they're like, well, we got to bring this dude back, and continue this story. But then it's like, and ever since now, it's like characters like him, like Phasma or whatever, they get Boba Fetted, where it's like they look so cool, and people buy that action figure, but then it's like, they're in it for like 5 minutes, or they get crushed, or they fall into a thing or whatever. But it's like people want the dudes that look cool. I think that whole tangent boils down to people that the dudes that look cool in their cool outfits and make us think that they're super badass. We want more time with those characters. And I think that's probably why like people fall in love with them, because not only is there like fantasies that we come up with in our head of like, man, it's so, I could just picture him like, pew, pew, pew.
Where did he get those braids? I wonder, like you want to
know, the Wookiee braids.
You want to know the story behind those things.
Yeah, like his armor, like just his armor carries lore. I mean, like, why is his helmet dented? Like, why is his armor all beat up? And why does he have Wookiee braids? And where the heck, like, what even is a Mandalorian? Like all that stuff that got like just like snowballed. And then of course episode 2, even though it's a giant dog shit pile of whatever of a movie, there was still things like Jango Fett, and you're like, oh sweet, okay, like, give me that.
Say what you. This is Dylan's point of view about the prequels. My brother, who I think you may have met once or twice, but he's like, say what you want about the prequels. They did give us a lot more story, and they did give us a foundation for things. And you talked about and
a lot more lightsabers. Like a lot.
You talked about Boba's introduction, and it's kind of the thing now that you can tell how serious or how diehard a Boba Fett fan is by what they think that character's introduction was. If they say Empire, you're like surface to mid. If they say holiday special, you're like, oh, deep fan. But now if you say, did you know he was in a parade in Marin County?
Right. Yeah.
Like the Disney Plus documentary.
That was awesome.
Under the Helmet does a great job. I highly recommend it. If you're listening to this, you've probably already seen it. But I would check that out. It goes in depth to a lot of what Greg and I are talking about, but I had no idea that armor
I actually didn't know that either until the documentary, that it was in a parade.
Can you imagine what it was like to have been a kid at that parade
and getting that autograph when he's like doing all the autographs as Boba Fett?
You can see the looks on their faces, like they're just in complete shock and they want to know more and they don't know who this is.
Yeah.
And it's everything you just said, which is going back to Adam Savage. He always talks about when you're doing a costume, especially if you're making up something from scratch, like weathering it and putting dents and putting insignias, and the thought process you put into that tells a story. There's a narrative around props and prop making and costume making, that even if you don't know what that story is, something about when you first saw him and all those dents and all the weathering, you're like, oh, this guy's been through some stuff. And so anyway, yeah, that Under the Helmet documentary was
it's so good.
Was so cool, and it talked about the different actors that have worn the costume over the years. Have you gotten a chance? I know you've been to a few cons. Have you gotten a chance to meet either Daniel Logan or Jeremy Bulloch or Tamura Morrison?
No, actually. The only I'm trying to think now. The only actors from Star Wars that have been at conventions that I've been at, actually now I'd have to put a lot of thought into that. I'm like, wait a minute, I've been to way too many conventions at this point. Never mind, my brain doesn't work like that anymore.
While you're thinking,
I would say Peter Mayhew has been at, or was, God rest him, was at a lot. Bullock never was at any that I was at, unfortunately. Daniel Logan, definitely not. I know Ray Park was at a convention in Columbus, actually.
Oh, wow.
And that was awesome, but the line was way too long. Billy Dee Williams.
Nice. Colt 45.
I did get to meet Billy Dee Williams, and that was awesome. And I wasn't planning on getting talking to him or waiting in line because the line was super long.
Yeah.
But he saw me with my camera and I was like doing like this pan, and he goes,
nice.
And I was like, yeah, all right. I was like, I'm gonna wait in line. And I didn't pay for anything. I just like shook his hand and just said thanks because he's awesome.
Did I ever tell you my Jeremy Bulloch story?
No,
I don't think I did.
So I don't think so.
This is a good forum for that, and I'll make it quick. But I was in Kansas City for work, staying at the downtown, I think it was Radisson or Hyatt, I don't remember, but it's on like the main square in Kansas City. And I'm there for work, and we've only got 2 or 3 days, and it's 12 and 14-hour days. But the first day I'm there, I noticed there's a convention in town, and I can see it across the square from my hotel. And it's the Midwest's largest convention for geek culture, TV and movies and games. And nice. I start looking at the lineup of who's there, and it's like I Dream of Jeannie and actors from Star Trek and actors from Star Wars. When I noticed that Jeremy Bulloch is there, I'm there for work and I have zero free time. So I'm just
oh God, no.
My colleagues, most of who were 10, 15, and 20 years older than me, are like, I don't understand why you're so itchy. What is this convention? And I'm like, you don't understand, like right over there, but I can't. So like, it's the last day we're there, and we're going to fly out in the morning. We've just had this dinner to celebrate the successful meeting that we had. And I'm walking into the hotel lobby, and Jeremy Bulloch is in the lobby bar with his wife. And the convention had already been going on for 2 or 3 days. And I don't have a crowd around him, but a few people on the opposite side of the lobby were like gesturing toward him and whispering. And I saw their pointing and looked in the direction of their pointing. And that's when I noticed them.
Oh, God.
I'm like, okay, Boba Fett is having dinner at the bar.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that guy.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
And I went, no, you know what? I am going to be that guy. And so I walk over and I say,
scratch that. Yeah.
So I walk over and I say, Mr. Bulloch, I'm sorry to interrupt your dinner. I just wanted to say hello and thank you for everything you've done. And he said, have a seat. And I was like, wait, what? So I just sit down. I said, I'm not going to stay long. And his wife is like nodding and smiling. And I said, I just one question. What do you think it is? Like, what do you think it is that people gravitated or just grabbed onto so much about a character who didn't have a lot of lines? And he made some joke, and I don't want to quote him directly, but it was something like, clearly it was my acting ability. Like he made some fun joke about how the performance he gave.
Oh man.
And it was just this
I love that
thing for him to put down his knife and fork, put down his glass of wine, answer my question. And I said, thank you so much. Do you mind if I get a picture? I snap a quick selfie and then I go back.
I think you sent me the picture. I think that's what it was.
And I go back to my room, and my colleagues don't care at all, but I'm going, you guys. They're like, Boba Fett, isn't that the one with the helmet? And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know every actor that was in a costume, whether you saw their face or not. You know Kenny Baker was inside of R2-D2. You know Peter Mayhew was Chewbacca. You know Ray Park was they're like, all right, man, whatever. I'm glad you got to meet one of your heroes. And so it was just the coolest experience, man.
And that's exactly what you want to happen, like when you meet people like that. I mean,
he couldn't have been more kind. And even in that documentary that we just referenced, other actors and people that knew him were like, that was
they seemed to seemed like life. He was like the greatest dude.
He loved going to conventions. He loved the lines of fans. I'm sure at times it got old. But his wife like stands in his office after his passing, and she's like, Jeremy loved this. Like, this was everything for him. And he had other acting roles in the UK and did great, but for sure that was the one that really resonated with people. So
that's fantastic.
So you're watching Mandalorian, and
oh God, I knew you were gonna go. All right, go ahead.
You're watching Mandalorian. At what point did you go, no way? When did you know?
Okay, well, I thought you were going to talk about, was it? This is pathetic. If I can actually direct land it, I don't think, is it season 2, episode 6, when he does like the Robert Rodriguez. I don't know. I could be wrong. It's obviously season 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought you were
going to go straight to that episode.
No, I was going to say, did you know at the boots, or did you know at the turnaround?
So up until, I think honestly until Fennec, it's Fennec Shand, is that her name?
Yeah.
So until the line when she says Boba found me in the desert and saved me, or something like that. I will embarrassingly admit that I honestly thought, I was like, like it's Spurs, cool, but like it was also like a gunslinger. I think it was called The Gunslinger, that episode where he walks up like that. And so I just kind of dismissed it. I was just kind of like, maybe, I don't know. I really didn't think that he was going to be in it per se. But like it definitely turned into that. But I think it was more on the turnaround for me, I think. I mean, that was definitely the first like reaction it got out of me. The boots, not so much, but the turnaround, I lost my mind.
Yeah, because I'm like, I ran up to the TV to confirm that was Tamura Morrison. and I was like, okay. And even then though, Greg, I was like, they might just have it be a clone.
A clone, yeah.
Yeah. But dude, we can talk about Cobb Vanth. I didn't want to jump too far ahead, but when you see the armor,
that's fine, yeah.
You see the armor and you're like, are they really gonna weave this?
Dude, yeah. That was when he showed up, I was like, he's a little skinny. I was like, something happened to him. Maybe he was like starving out in the desert or something. Like that was like those thoughts run through your head as you're watching it for the first time. You're just like all just going.
Yeah.
At least that was my brain. But I was just like, he shows up with that sweet ass silhouette in the doorway, and I'm just like, oh! And it was just so perfect. And he's got the badass stance, just total cowboy, and grabs the drink and sits down. But as soon as I saw the helmet come off, I was like, maybe, I don't know. And because like, I don't think it had really been established yet that it's like, he doesn't play by like the Mandalorian rules or anything like that. At least in the movie universe or whatever they're calling it. I don't know, the Disney Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because in Tales from Jabba's Palace, this is where it's going to get real nerdy. Tales from Jabba's Palace. One of my favorite Boba Fett stories is his like escape from the Sarlacc, and what he does afterwards and whatever. And it's just like one chapter of the book because it's like little vignettes. But he takes his helmet off, and I want to say it's in front of Princess Leia. He takes it off, and they talk about him like sleeping with his helmet on his stomach or something like that. And because like they set it up like it's like this whole like he's gonna have his way with her or something, but it's like no, I'm Boba Fett, and which is awesome. The newest trailer, he's like I rule with respect or something. I can't remember, but like he is all about that, and like he just like takes his helmet off and goes to sleep. And that was like the only time I ever remember them talking about, okay, Boba Fett takes his helmet off. And then of course Attack of the Clones, like maybe you could sort of consider that, you know, because Django did and blah blah blah, which they're really gonna have to explain that somehow, about like the different sects of Mandalorians that are cool with that and the ones that aren't.
Right.
But as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, it's not him. And it was just like, and then, you know, pan up, and I was just like, okay, you have some splaining to do, because it was like, what's happening? But like Cobb Vanth is such a kick-ass character, and that episode was like, in my opinion, it was better than any of the prequels. Like it was like the standalone perfect Star Wars movie almost, and it really established like this return of Boba Fett was going to be kind of this like multi-layered process, and that was so cool to me because it was just like, okay, so there's like some history and some like real time that has passed now between Sarlacc and him walking and talking again. So but that was also why I did. I was like, I'm also not Polynesian, so it's like you might want to edit that out, I don't know, but I was like, I'm a white guy, I can cosplay Cobb Vanth, maybe, you know, like I could try to get my hair right, which is almost impossible because his hair is perfect. And I'm not salt and pepper anymore, or yet, I should say. And I'm losing my hair. It's the exact opposite of what you want for Cobb Vanth. But that was why I went after that, doing that costume again, because I was like, I could make this work. And then of course, when Boba Fett comes back and wears the armor and he's a little bit more paunchy, I was like, excellent.
I can do
he's got one. He's got a little bit of a gut, and that's fine. And
if I'm gonna cosplay Greg based on the fact that I've shaved my head since we last.
Oh yes, yes, you got to do that.
I could do it, man. I got the belly, I got the shaved head. I can.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that like his nationality isn't, I guess, as important now that he's all burnt. It's like you could just have like the crazy burnt face makeup, you know, and it would work. But I part of me was like, well, I could do, you know, back and forth, so I didn't like, I still have my Cobb Vanth costume. I should have probably brought it around so it was within reaching distance. But like that one, you know, I was like, well, I'm gonna get a black robe to wear underneath it, and I'm gonna go back and forth between, you know, the Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth. Because I will be honest, I'm not like the biggest fan of his repainted armor. Just because growing up seeing that like iconic look that's just so freaking perfect, I was just like why did you do that? My friend did make a joke when we watched the following episode, or wait, no, I'm sorry, I had seen the Boba Fett reveal in Mandalorian, which I'll go into detail of the reaction to that because my wife can tell you that was a day. But I had immediately texted my friend, who's an enormous Star Wars fan, enormous.
Is this the one that you had you did the podcast, a couple podcast episodes with?
I did. Sai, his name's Sai, and he oh no, you're thinking of the Not Another Star Wars podcast that my friend John wanted to do a podcast, which that was the whole joke, was Not Another Star Wars podcast, because there's like 1,000 or more. But my friend Sai, he's older than us, so like, to be fair, he has like the most right to be a Star Wars fan because he was like a child.
To be fair,
to be fair.
Letter
in 1977, like he was a child and got to enjoy it as a kid for the first time. But I immediately called him. I was like, you just please wait so I can watch this episode with you, please. And it was the same day, but it was later that night. And I just remember just like getting to like see someone else like react was like the closest thing to like getting to watch it again for the first time. But his joke the next episode, then I think it was, because I can't remember if, I mean, it was the next week or whatever. His joke was, because we had obviously a great time seeing Boba Fett come back. As soon as he showed up with the repainted armor, he's like, so did he make like a pit stop at Sherwin-Williams? That was like that was his joke. And I think about it every time. Every time I see an ad for Book of Boba Fett, I'm like, Sherwin-Williams. That's it's the first thing that pops in my head. But it's like it's growing on me, but like,
yeah,
my God, that episode when he comes back, and like the fact that Robert Rodriguez, who's one of my all-time favorite filmmakers and will be forever for a multitude of reasons. I was going to say the least of which is the fact that he like basically rewrote the book on independent filmmaking, but he just like it was like this freaking I'm not good with sports analogies, but like it was an easy home run.
Yeah.
And it was just like with that guy behind the camera, like my favorite shot ever is you hear the slam, like the jetpack, and you hear like him like slam on the ground, and that low shot that's like, I just covered the camera. That low shot, the when he's like looking down at that stormtrooper, like, you done fucked up. But like he's just like, he's like got his back arched in such a way where he just looks so like confident and awesome and Boba Fett, and just blasts him. And that whole sequence, like I want to watch it right now. But it's like I could watch it over and over and over again, like him showing up and just, mowing through stormtroopers. And you're just like, this is everything. This is everything that people like us have always wanted for decades now, which is crazy to think.
My kids had to cover their ears because of the scream that was going on. I was jumping up and down. I was
man.
I was running up to the TV. I was pausing, finding like to see this character that nothing has happened.
I'm so happy to finally be talking to somebody that gets it.
Nothing has happened in his story, especially once the Disney acquisition, and they said, hey, all that expanded universe stuff that you like, well, it's no longer canon. So nothing has happened in his story since Return of the Jedi. And here we are, and we're finally going to know the what's gone on and his reintroduction after that many years. And you try to explain that to Star Wars fans. I tried to explain that with the last of the sequel trilogy. Like, you guys don't understand. They're wrapping up decades worth of story arc here. This, and you can say what you want about what each J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson did or didn't do, or what could have been better. They're, and Kendall, the third co-host on our podcast, always says this. He's like it or not, it is how it ended. Like, Star Wars, nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans. Nobody hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans, and they can say what should have happened, but what happened. It is what it is. And so
well, there's a lot of people that try to tell our generation to feel that way about the prequels, and I do. Like, I learned to accept it. I was like, that's Star Wars. Yeah. Like, the prequels are a part of it. You just have to accept that. And unfortunately, so now there's a whole nother generation getting used to that with the sequels.
Exactly. So here the Mandalorian brings him back. Shout out to our friend from CC, Brian Mattias, who did so much concept art and design for that series. And then to learn that they're going to do a whole spin-off of just Boba Fett, like, shut the front door. Like, thank you. It's the gift that keeps on giving. What are your thoughts on this show?
Yeah. So, I don't want to put Brian on blast or anything, but he had a very awesome post that got me extremely excited on Facebook.
Was that this week?
Spoiler or anything? I think it might have been this past week or something.
Yeah.
Where I think he just said, like, I'm really excited for you guys to see the show or something, and it was Book of Boba Fett. it was like a screenshot or something, and or like the trailer, and it was so great that someone had commented and said, "Did you work on this?" And I got very excited because I love Brian, and I love his work, and no one deserves what he's doing right now for a living more than Brian, because he works his ass off. But the comment, his response to the person saying, "Did you work on this?" He's like, "Yes, this and many others." So I'm like, I was like, so you're telling me like maybe Obi-Wan or like what else? Because he's right now he's like a Star Wars golden boy or becoming one.
Yeah.
But he also what's the right word for this? I was gonna say he accommodated my ridiculous request where I bought the art book from Target, and I was like, if I send this to you, will you sign it? he's like, yeah, man, whatever. And I was like, I know it's extremely weird because we went to college together, and it's like, and I was like, are there other people that have asked? He's like, no, you're actually the only one. I'm like, oh, great. Great.
well, Brian, there's gonna be two.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like the fact that not only did he do Mandalorian, but like Book of Boba Fett, it's perfect. It just makes sense. And it blew my freaking mind that like especially when like that title card came out, I was just like, like I short circuited, and it was just like I still can't believe that my childhood like icon of my Star Wars, like my love of Star Wars pretty much hinged on Boba Fett as a kid. And I know a lot, I'm not the only person to say that, but still, like just the fact that he's getting his own show is still hard to even like kid.
I think
that kid right there, man.
I think they know that your childhood hinged on Boba Fett.
Right. And that's like, and it's, and it like, it hits me in the feels because it's like when I see that kid, I'm like, man, like if only I could tell him, like, hey, dude, you're not gonna believe this. First off, we're 36 now. And I'm here from the future, and time travel is possible. But no, if I could talk to
now.
right.
For your hair loss.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and and like you're gonna hear this stuff about like Apple stock, just
Go
listen to
it.
whatever people say. Yeah, Apple stock, maybe some crypto. When people say that it's weird, do it then and not like when we're 36, because you've already missed out. Because that's a little tiny side note, but it's like I don't want to buy Bitcoin, but it's like it's like if I did do it, I wish I would have done it, like a couple of years ago. But anyway, also there's a pandemic. I'd have to tell him that too. And that was, by the way, Boba Fett show and pandemic. There's also global pandemic.
Donald Trump's going to be president for a while.
Right. It sounds crazy. It's just, but hey, we get a Boba Fett show.
But yeah, you were. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
It's just no. I mean, I like it just it just those kinds of things like when I see myself either dressed up like that or just think of myself like playing with the action figures as a kid, or my asshole friends who I will say exist that are Star Wars fans that will be like, oh, Boba Fett sucks, because some Star Wars fans do say that because they're just like, oh, he's overrated because he fell into the Sarlacc pit and he's not that great and da 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 da. And a lot of people will be like, well, he was cool if you count the comics and you count the books and you count the expanding universe. It's like, no, he's just cool. Take it or leave it. I don't care what you think.
Right.
But it's just like he's got his own show now, and he also like that one episode of The Mandalorian just kind of wipes it all away. It's like it's like, oh, so all of those thoughts and all of those things, that's all real now. Like he could be that guy that I saw, just mowing through people in the comic books or doing whatever.
seeing him,
but I just, yeah,
for me, seeing him sit in Jabba's throne,
dude,
and just that like really relaxed, almost laissez-faire posture.
Yeah.
It was
I want that Hallmark ornament.
That's
I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna buy that Hallmark ornament as soon as I see it.
And then Fennec to stand next to him. And,
and drink the.
Just I can't wait to see where this show goes, and that's part of the reason we're doing this now, to just keep the hype going for for when it comes out. Man, it's just super exciting, and I just say what you want about the Disney acquisition. I think I really appreciate. I know Kathleen Kennedy. It feels like she tries really hard to respect the fan base of all generations, and thoughtfully huge. Put together directors and producers. What they've done with Mandalorian, and just, I mean, it's now cool to be a Star Wars fan, in huge part of Jon Favreau and what they've done, and Doug Chiang and what all those guys did with the show. It's just a fun time to be a Star Wars.
Oh my God. It really is. Well, I mean, like, and I know this is about Boba Fett, but like, even if you talk about the Disney stuff, like the fact that we're getting an Obi-Wan show, like that's the thing. Is like they're answering all these questions that we've always wanted, of like what happened to Boba Fett, where, like, what happened after the Sarlacc. Like, we have been told that he escaped. Like, we want that story. We want to know. And there was a little tease in the most recent trailer, I think it was, where it shows him in a Bacta, and he's like, he's in a tank or something, and he's got the face mask, which I was like, well, that's not, I mean, I'm sure there was some sort of Bacta tank involved, because that's basically how you heal people in Star Wars. Right. But so it's not like that big of a reveal, but still. But like that, like we're gonna get that answered, and then like the Obi-Wan stuff, like what happened to Obi-Wan between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. We want that story too. So I feel like Disney, they know what they're doing. Like, people want to give Favreau the credit, which he does deserve every ounce of credit.
Dave Filoni too. I meant to say,
and Dave Filoni, and Dave Filoni, like, but like, and give them all the credit where credit's due. But like, Disney still hired those guys. Right. Like, they didn't have to hire those guys, but they did, and they hit the jackpot. But it's like, they know what they're doing, and I mean, I know it's like, part of me is like, well, Boba Fett fans and like Obi-Wan fans, whatever they're going to be, and Star Wars fans. Well, I shouldn't say Star Wars fans, but I will say Boba Fett fans are sort of easy to please, because it's like, just show me the guy doing cool stuff, and I'm probably going to be okay with it, as long as you don't completely embarrass him and make him into this, whatever. But like, I was going to say Star Wars fans will just take anything you throw at them, but they won't anymore. I think that's been proven wrong, because people are, a lot of people have, like you had said, no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans. But that's, and I don't know, what generation of fan that started, but I always felt like growing up, Star Wars fans just liked Star Wars. And, I tried to hold true to that as soon as I like started accepting the prequels and things. And that's the thing, is that like all that Jango Fett stuff, for as far as Boba Fett's concerned, like all of that Jango Fett stuff is all very much, that happened, when he brings up the chain code thing on his gauntlet, which was awesome. That very much happened. As silly as some of the scenes with Daniel Logan are, and him wearing that weird like little Django wearing that weird like inner helmet. I don't know what you would call it. Like, those silly things, it's like, take it or leave it. But
I love what you just said, and I know we're going to wind down here in a second, but like the term fan service bothers me so much.
Man,
as a criticism.
You're talking about what I posted on Facebook.
Well, we've talked about it on the podcast. I went off in one episode of our show, because I was like, there are 9 films. Who else are they making these movies for? The fans. Why are you using that term? Like, you're so smart and you're so above, like, the hatred of using fan service as a critique for films is the dumbest, especially huge franchises, is the dumbest thing ever. That's who it's for.
Franchise films like franchise films survive on pleasing the fans. So I don't really understand, what the alternative is exactly. I know that some people that are kind of nerdy, and oh my God, do I have too many of them in my life, but that are kind of like nerdy film, film buffs, if you want to call them that. Like they let too much of their, film buff go into like their nerdy movie and pop culture-y type stuff. Because it's not like, Star Wars wasn't going out to win Best Picture, and Avengers and all of those things. They're not going out to do that. They're trying to make a ton of money and pleasing the fans and going, ooh, look at, like that's what we want. And I know that's silly to admit and whatever, but it's like Ghostbusters, like Afterlife. That was what I had posted on Facebook, was that all of the critic score is I'd say it's average. It's like in the 60s, whatever. A lot of people are saying that's, low or whatever, but take it or leave it, I don't care. But the audience score is 96%.
Yeah.
And so everybody was, saying, well, fan service shouldn't be anywhere near, the reviews of this movie because this film is 40 years old.
Right.
Like, or at least, the original. And that's the same with Star Wars. It's like these movies are old. It's a old thing that became part of our culture. And, there may actually be some things that these people don't remember. And it's like, it's not all of it is like, ooh, remember this? Remember how you liked this? Well, now I'm giving it to you again. Look at it. Ooh, it's not all that. Like a lot of it, and when it does happen, I don't care because I'm a fan and I'm glad I'm serviced.
Yeah. So thank you for the servicing. Well, that's that's the perfect segue. I know it's been so fun catching up with you, man, on a topic that is near and dear to both of us. But tell the listeners or viewers about your Ghostbusters group and your side hustle and your toy making and all the stuff you got going on. How to find you on social, or plug whatever you want to.
Yes,
plug.
Please do. Yeah. I was gonna say eventually we need to have a beer because now that we know that we live close-ish to each other.
Dude, I didn't even realize that. I thought you were still
I didn't either. And when you bought your Harley, I was like, oh wait, I know where that is. It's like I pass it when I go on the highway, like every single day. But yeah, I somehow, well, I shouldn't say somehow. It's because if you could see the room I'm in, and you can see some of it, like I didn't really fall ass backwards into it. I just kind of naturally gravitated towards being part of a cosplay group and getting like completely ingrained into the nerd culture. And it was after years of going to conventions for either work or also, pleasure. I found out that Ghostbuster cosplay groups were a thing, kind of like the 501st, but less strict. But I joined up and I'm part of the Great Lakes Ghostbusters Coalition, which is I shouldn't say smaller group because we're actually quite large, because it's a bunch of smaller groups grouped together in a big group in the Great Lakes region. But it's under the umbrella of Ghost Corps. So if you see the new Ghostbusters movies, you'll see it run before the movie. Sony actually runs these fan groups for, kind of the same. Well, I don't really know how the 501st works. I don't know if Disney's really involved, but Sony's really great about having these fan groups because we do it for charity, and they're super supportive. They always have been. They invite us to the premieres. I couldn't go to the Afterlife premiere, super bummer, but it was kind of last minute, and I think it was on purpose because they're like, we don't want like this enormous group of nerds spreading COVID to Bill Murray. So, but I was at the 2016 premiere in LA because they invited us out, and that was super cool. They treated us like royalty, they gave us free food and got to be on the red carpet and everything. But it's been a crazy ride, man, because I've been doing it for like, I don't know, four years now. I want to say 5, but I think it's more like 4. But and we raise money for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. It's a mouthful, MS Society. And we also do some stuff for Make-A-Wish. with a lot of the Ohio groups who do Make-A-Wish stuff. But it's fun, and it has led into my side hustle now, where I build props and costumes now professionally. I never thought that was actually going to happen. Even saying it out loud right now sounds insane. Yeah, thanks, man. I was like, yay. My wife encouraged it. She's like, just do it. She's like, just open an Etsy shop. Like, it's a thing now. People do it. And I just bought my second 3D printer.
And you're making like wind-up toys. Like, how do
I am? Yeah. So please, so I have a shop called Dr. Bedknob's Bits and Bobs. It's on Etsy, and you can just look up Dr. Bedknobs. I'm sure it's the only thing that's on there called that. Or if you look up like Ghostbuster props, somehow mine have gone all the way up to like the first thing that pops up. I have no idea how that happened. It's only been open for like 2 months. And I make belt gizmos and lifeguards and all kinds of goofy Ghostbuster gadgets.
That's awesome, man.
Which Adam Savage he built a gizmo, not one of mine, a long time ago, but he used a different kit. But that's the thing. I sell hand painted props, things like that. But my wind up toys is actually why I got the 3D printer in the first place. It wasn't for props. I was like, I'm going to make wind up toys because they're fun. So I bought a whole bunch of wind up toys on Amazon from like probably some gutter in China. And they were like, it was like $5 for like 30 wind up toys of all different varieties. And I take them apart and I put weird 3D printed things on them and people buy them. I can't believe it. They're either gory or goofy or do something weird or just obscure. And those are on there as well, Dr. Bedknobs. And our Ghostbusters group, if you want to look that up, it's the Black Swamp Ghostbusters.
Awesome.
And that's the Toledo area where I originate from. But yeah, that's what we do. And I can't believe that I'm doing that.
You're just
on top of my day job. Like that's
you're just a big kid, and I think the reason that stuff's selling and you're gonna do so well.
I got that since I think we were in college now.
Oh yeah.
So,
so it spills over. When you love what you do so much, it's infectious and people want to be a part of that energy that you bring. So I have no doubts that your prop making and your toy making and just all the Ghostbusters stuff thrives for that reason. Like the world needs more positive people doing stuff they love and being big kids. So don't stop being you, man. I'm looking forward to that beer. Thanks for the time talking Boba Fett. And be sure to check out our regular episodes, guys. They drop every Wednesday from the Mid Pod everywhere. Thanks, Greg Kissner, for joining us. We'll catch you guys